Okay. I have several announcements today. As you know, we received a $90,000 grant from the Connecticut Commission on Culture and Tourism. We did really well. There were 19 requests asking for $2.2 million, and they were competing for $800,000. So we got 90 of that. So we did well. So thanks to Lynn and Leslie and everybody who worked on that grant.
Nice job.
Good job.
Just on that note, was there like a system, was there any feedback in terms of the content presented and locking this?
Feedback at all, nothing.
None, okay.
Got it or you didn't.
Right.
Just approved.
Yep. Approved or denied, that's it.
The Board of Finance met and did the final draft of the budget on April 16th. So they're sending $59,971,387 to town meeting on May 4th. So anyone who could come and support the library, that would be great. The Board of Selectmen met on April 21st and gave the building committee their charge. It was a joint meeting of the building committee and the Board of Selectmen. So I'll just read a little bit from the minutes. First Selectman Burke explained that the charge is to finish the library project, solicit requests for proposals for construction administrator, engage an architect, and do all things possible to bring the project to conclusion on time and on budget. The library building committee elected officers and established a meeting schedule. So the officers, the chairman is Robert Trippi, the vice chair is William Slifkin, and the secretary is Dan Gata. The meetings will be on the second and fourth Tuesdays at 7:30 p.m. in this room unless there's another conflict. So we are on our way to building. Correspondence. I'll share with you an email that I sent to our legislators and a response that I got back from Tony Boucher. I am following up on the sales tax requirements for nonprofit organizations mentioned by Ms. Geraldine Mills at the legislative breakfast recently held in Bethel. It is our understanding that libraries/friends, parentheses, non-profit organizations can sell items at up to 5 fundraising or social events no more than 1 day in duration without collecting sales tax. Items sold beyond the 5-day exemption require that sales taxes be collected and paid monthly. As you know, we are in the middle of a capital campaign to raise funds needed to complete the second floor of our library. We have many activities planned in conjunction with our centennial celebration. Any help and/or direction you could give us would be greatly appreciated. Finally, thanks for your assistance with the CCT Historic Restoration Grant. We were awarded $90,000. This gets us one step closer to completing the Sealy House restoration. Thanks, Shani Burksbeck, Chairman. And she wrote back, Shani, the leadership in both the Senate and the House are trying to force through legislation that increases taxes and fees. I am adamantly opposed to any proposal that increases taxes or fees. However, it is an uphill battle. The political climate may not have the stomach to repeal any sales tax, but I will certainly consider your advocacy when discussing sales tax in the Finance Committee. Best regards, State Senator Tony Boucher, Assistant Minority Leader. So I didn't hear back from the others yet. So anyway, we've planted the seed in regards to sales tax. Does anyone else have any correspondence?
I do. We have several pieces. I have a letter from Jacques Papet dated April 23rd. Dear Ms. Rosado, this is to confirm that I will speak about my life and sign books at the Bethel Public Library on Tuesday, May 12, 2009. I agree to waive a speaker's fee and will accept a recognition plaque. My name on the plaque is sufficient. In other words, he's donating his fee to the capital campaign. I designate that the proceeds from the book sale be given to the library's capital campaign. I am hopeful that you will have a venue large enough to accommodate everyone that has interest in attending this event, and that you will have a sufficient number of books on hand for my signing. I do this type of event often and find that when people realize that I can autograph and personalize the books, they almost always buy copies for gifts as well as for themselves. Best regards, Jacques Pappin. So this came in the mail today.
Who is he? I know.
What is this?
He's Julia Child's male counterpart. Very famous chef. He's got a show on PBS. Lives here in Connecticut. And charges an enormous amount to do speaking engagements, but he's not charging us anything and donating to speak to the...
Did you send this out via email already?
No, I just got this today.
Okay.
I just got this today.
I will do my whatever I can to...
Well, the other issue
Can
with...
you speak a little louder?
Oh,
We're
because of
having
the air.
trouble here. Yeah.
The issue with this program is it's full already, and there's 25 on the waiting list.
Oh, great.
Can we
Job well
move
done.
Pardon?
Can we move it?
We can talk about that after.
Okay.
Did we have money earmarked to pay him out of
It
donation?
was coming out of the grant account, the
From
Union
Union
Savings
Savings.
Author Series grant
So
account
do we need to shift that money to, and
into the building fund.
the person who gave that grant is going to be okay with that?
Well, we're actually, as we did with Susie Klein, we presented her with the check, and we didn't know that she had any intention of giving it back, and she just handed it back and signed it over to the library, so
Okay.
I think that's how that would work. Okay, I have a letter dated April 14th from Connecticut Commission on Culture and Tourism. Unless you want me to read the whole thing, it's basically just informing us that we received the $90,000 and that a required workshop is, that I need to attend a required workshop which is being held tomorrow, how to do the grant, how to administer the grant. This is what I gave you. I
Yeah.
put it in your box.
We can, if you pass it down, we can send out a copy with the minutes. And
Okay. And then the next letter I have also is dated April 3rd to First Selectman Robert Burke from Mary Louise Jensen, the building consultant at the State Library. I'm reminding you that you must initiate your project by August 27th, 2009, or your state public library construction grant for $898,432 will be lost and will be returned to the state library to be reallocated. Initiation of your project constitutes signing with a building contractor. Also, remember that you must have your local funding approved and you must have a signed contract with the state library before you sign with the building contractor. If you are having problems, please feel free to call me, 860-456-1717, extension 306, or 1-800-253-7944, extension 306. We would hate to see your project fail. If for some reason you cannot initiate your project by August 27, 2009, but you think you could start within a year from that date, you could ask the State Library Board for a one-year extension. Therefore, if you are going to ask for an extension, you should have your request sent to Kendall F. Wiggins, State Librarian, Connecticut State Library, 231 Capitol Avenue, Hartford, Connecticut, 06106. With a copy to me no later than April 30th, 2009 for the May 26, 2009 meeting, or June 27th, 2009 for the July 27th, 2009 meeting. FYI, the State Library Board approved the moratorium on the restriction of having only 2 one-year extensions for grantees that do not have their local funding. The State Library will review this moratorium in March 2011. This moratorium might affect you. Again, please feel free to contact me if I can be of any assistance. Sincerely, Mary Louise Jensen, Building Consultant, Division of Library Development. This is a copy that she sent to me.
Madam Chairman, I
Yes.
recommend that a copy of that be given to the building committee tomorrow night. I believe they're meeting tomorrow night.
Yes,
You
they
have
are.
the secretary here
Okay.
as well.
All right.
Please,
I have
come and
a
hold it.
copy. Yeah,
All right.
I'm delivering a copy to you as the secretary right now.
Thank you.
At this meeting. All right, Centennial Committee. Okay, I'm going to do the 2-minute drill here, and then I'll turn it to you, Tom, okay? Wendy Smith has resigned from the Centennial Committee. I have her letter. She just has too many things going on in her personal life. So if anyone knows of another volunteer who would like to be on the Centennial Committee, we could definitely use the help. The logo is done finally on the t-shirt.
See,
Very nice.
Very nice.
Yeah.
I like that.
So
Bethel spelled incorrectly. Just kidding.
you're funny. So t-shirts are available for $10 and sweatshirts for $25.
Sorry.
And we're using this on everything. So the logo, the basic design was done by Elisa.
Nice
And,
job.
Lisa.
Very nice.
Then with help from the company's called Screen Designs. So, you know, Lisa gave him the basics, and then he donated all of his work to finish the layout and get the stuff ready. So we only paid for the t-shirts and sweatshirts.
Very nice.
So Screen Designs, if you need any work
Can I
done.
have that information so that I can record it as an invoice?
Yeah, I asked him to send us an invoice with the amount and a zero balance, and I didn't hear from him yet. Okay. We are planning to move forward with Old Home Day on the 4th of July. We have reserved the front lawn of this building. However, we think it would be better to actually have the event on the grounds of the library. And we came up with the idea to have different activities in different areas. So we have the parking lot, which will probably be for food. We have the Barnum Terrace, the front of the library, and then the Lincoln Courtyard. And then the other side, this east side of the building. So we've made a schedule of events. We're going to start with free coffee at 8 o'clock in the morning when the race starts. And we're working with a couple vendors in town to help us with that. And then there'll be breakfast available till about 11. There's going to be kids games and hopefully a play put on by the high school group. We're working on that too. So thanks for replacing. It's going to be a really fun day.
My flower exhibit?
Yeah. And we need help, so anyone who wants to volunteer or knows anybody who wants to volunteer, that would be great.
Are we making money on that day?
Are we making money? We are making money.
Okay.
We are going to sell tickets to participate in the events, or do a bracelet, like an all-day pass sort of thing, to get you into anything. There's certain vendors who are going to participate, and they're going to pay a fee to participate, and then they'll do their own money. And then finally, I didn't discuss this with the committee in this particular detail, but I think since it's an election year, we should do Dunk the Candidate. And people will pay money to get balls to
That's a great idea.
dunk the candidate. We're gonna get a duct tape. And people will pay money.
Thousands of dollars.
Don't you think? People will pay big dollars
I'll drop
too.
$100 just to see Burke swim.
And I'm
If he
saying,
runs.
if he runs.
Shane, when are their caucuses?
Well, I don't know.
August.
They're in July, so you won't know which candidates are running.
We won't know.
Not technically.
We'll just have them all come.
Yeah, we'll just have them
You
all
know,
come.
just out of curiosity, I
Dump
know
the
you're
board?
moving it to the library, but you don't have much property over there. You have very little lawn, and you're away from the racers.
Well, actually,
just throwing that
no,
out
the
for
racers
discussion.
actually go by the library 2 times
Yeah.
during the race.
Yeah, that I know, but when they're finished, they all come down
Yeah.
and the prizes are awarded here on the municipal grounds. You really have very little property over
We're gonna
the
do a
library.
flyer in the race packet, which my understanding, the race bag is gonna go out ahead of time this year.
You were looking for a lot of people that the library grounds are not very, very large.
Well,
That's my opinion.
okay.
Okay.
It's a well-respected routine. but one of the reasons that we're looking at changing the venue to the library, well, there's several reasons. One is because it is a library venue. The second reason is because we looked at that crystal ball, we looked ourselves in the mirror, and we said, what's the likelihood of us filling an entire lawn with activities? Whereas being a little more pragmatic, a little more realistic, and a little more centralized to the fact that the library is what we're celebrating. And if you go around that library, the food court alone in the parking lot can hold 200 people if it's done right. The Lincoln Courtyard can hold 100 people if it's done right. The Barnum Terrace can hold 50 people. The eastern lawn and the front lawn can be used for croquet and for other small kids games. And we still have the Bethel Municipal, the front lawn here for other overflow game situations. So we still have that. But the focus is, after all,
The library. See,
And-
that's why we need you at meetings, Robert.
Well, no, well, I'm here. Fine.
And then do you, when we sell tickets, I know when they do Scotty Fun, they fence in the area around the, are we fencing in the library and fencing, what are we doing?
I don't think we're doing that. Fencing in.
No,
Okay.
How do we control access?
yeah.
Okay.
Well,
Actually, that's
We
a
gotta
little-
work out some of the
That's
details.
cr-
That's a committee.
That's a rather creative thing, because if you think
And you'll
about it,
recommend that people park at the municipal center?
Yes.
think about it this way. If you have a food court with a vendor, essentially you'll be selling food.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're gonna make money from that no matter what. You don't have to fence that, right?
Right.
With respect to anything that goes on in the Lincoln Courtyard or the Barnum Terrace, what it really comes down to is you're looking for more of a donational aspect versus an admissions aspect. It's more about donations, and it's more about offering value-added items that will get donations. Because we've got a business model that seems to work, and that is you do something on the lawn, you sell pansies, you do something, and people come to you and they donate and they participate. If we have a musical group that puts on a 1-hour presentation for preteens or toddlers from 2 to 3 in the Barnum Terrace, and then we have another group like a theatrical troupe that does a small play from 3 to 4, and we have a clown, and we have we can even have a Renaissance thing going on there too.
Well, I was just wondering, because she said
Yeah.
something about a bracelet for the day. That's what made me think that,
Right.
Well, see, this is the interesting part when you're doing the games. The admission to actually participate in the game,
okay.
that's easy.
Yeah.
In other words, you get the bracelet so you can do all the games. So that you don't need the
Right.
fence.
You don't
So
need
we don't
the
want to
fence.
fence anything in.
Yeah.
We want to keep it free flowing.
Yeah.
And we want
And
it
we
to be an
charge.
open party for the whole town. Just
You
like,
can ask for donations.
That's right.
Yeah.
just
We're
like the
gonna-
Jacques, the Jacques,
And-
what's his name?
The pond.
Yeah.
That's going to be a much bigger event than you
The
realize.
pond, that's the way he said
If we do it at the Barnum Terrace outside, that thing could hold, we could attract 200 people to that. That's something wild. I kind of like that now.
Is this on July 4th, no matter regardless of the weather?
Yeah.
We might
It'll
get
be nice.
a lot more people here.
I'm telling you, you just gotta believe.
Oh, yeah.
2 days, May 12th and July 4th, we got reservations.
There's enough time
And
for
then
all
Make
that.
no Venus.
Hell or high water can come any other time.
Every other time, exactly. All right. So more details to come. We actually have a table of
I never heard
the
of it.
ideas.
When I went to Catholic school.
Okay. All right.
It was St. Joseph.
And then
Pay attention.
Rebecca Hussey, who's on the Centennial Committee, who's the English professor, helped us to choose Dewey, the small town library cat who touched the world, as our community read. So we're going to get these to sell. So they'll be available, as well as T-shirts on the Old Home Day.
When are we doing the read?
Well, this is what I thought. Again, we didn't work out the details yet because Rebecca's trying to, have finals right now. But I was thinking maybe the first time to introduce it is at the summer reading kickoff, and then again at Old Home Day, and put it in the June newsletter. That was my thought.
Newsletters come and gone. We've done April, May.
We did April, May, June. Okay,
But we can do it, we do a special.
right. We can do a
email
custom
flyer
content.
and stuff, public
All right, so it's a cute little book. I've only read a little bit of it, but it's cute. The readathon, as Lynn reported, we had 19 kids participate, and they all read well over 1,000 minutes, and we raised just over $700. So that was good. We were hoping for more. And then the last part. Do you have any gala stuff you wanna?
I forget what we talked about in the Centennial Committee. This is the last board meeting, but the highlights are thinking through the balance of celebration versus fundraising for that event. Right? So I think the majority of the Centennial Committee came down on the side that this should be heavy on celebration and as light as possible or as smart as possible on the fundraising piece of it. And thinking about things specific to the library or the town as far as fundraising items, as opposed to Yankee tickets or other things that are to drive money, but not necessarily have to do with the celebration that we're going to. So still working out some of the details. November 7th is the date at the Stony Hill Inn. We've not yet put the deposit down, but I assume we have to do that fairly quickly. And we do have the encumbered funds for that, so we're in good shape. And over the next month, I guess the next time the Centennial Committee meets, I have it due to come back to the Centennial Committee with a written out draft for how the event should run. And we'll review that in the Centennial Committee and bring that back to the full board next month.
Okay. Thanks, Tom. Okay. Development Committee, Robert.
Oh, okay. Then do you have any black and white copies, or did you give me all?
You can have mine.
No,
Yeah.
I don't have any more.
Okay. We've got black and white copies, and we have a couple of color ones just for impact.
Is everyone free to
So if you guys who haven't seen this,
just turn that black knob.
you guys have all seen it, just for conversation.
Yeah, let's see.
Here's another a
We've
color
already
one.
seen it before, we don't need to
Okay.
keep it. Yeah,
Somebody
keep
else
it
do
to
this.
some people that...
Let me do this. I'm gonna just get in front of you all because it just seems easier for me to do it this way. Let's do this one. Okay. I don't want to grandstand. Real simple. The first page, okay, if you all have a piece of it. The concept here is we decided to stay really focused to what our mission was, and that is we need to collect funds. So we took out much of the other ideas that we had in terms of putting scheduling in there and some other things, and we just wanted to stay focused with our central mission with this piece. It's going out to approximately 5,000 households, and it's also going to go out to approximately 300 to 400 $1 million plus companies in the greater Danbury area. It might be a combined mailing, but it'll probably be a two-step mailing because the corporate list we have to kind of clean up and make sure that we have the right contact name. The scheduled in-home date is approximately not this Friday, a week from this Friday, which is May, I believe, 8th or 9th, which is before Mother's Day. And there's a reason for that. One, we're in a hurry. The second reason is when we get to the second or third page, you'll see that there's naming opportunities and there's ways for people to honor their loved ones, their family members. And what happens on Mother's Day? All these families get together and visit Mom. So we're trying to capitalize on that timing. You know, we never know what happens. So anyways, the first page, what's missing here, Shani owes me a chairman's letter, and she's still tweaking it, and we'll get it. And I've got
versions I've done.
Well, you know, there's some things happening here. So she owes me that. The News Times lady, we met with her today. She's got all 4 pages. And these are just basically the elements. This is not the final layout. These are just the elements. The News Times lady with her art staff will take these elements and they will redo them and make them even more visually appealing. That's their job. Okay? So the first page, essentially, we have the bottom. We have the old library circa 1920 and the new library. We've got that transition, and they'll work that into the theme. We have the campaign sign in the top right-hand corner. We've got a little status that Shani can show you if she has a copy of that letter, that essentially gives us, the community an update in terms of how much we've collected from various sources and how much we need, so they sense where we're at. And the only thing I think we need to do on that letter of yours is throw even more urgency into the pot, especially with that letter from the state. There's something about that message
Yeah,
that
no,
needs
you're
to get
right.
out to the community in terms of the fact that we'll lose that $898,000 grant if we don't step it up. So that needs to get thrown into this. Page 2. I know it looks a little impossible to read, but we felt it was important to let people know, that there's 2 floors to this library, and that to the right of that are the additions and improvements that will again be made to each of the floors if we can finish the library. And the impact of that was also, that was suggested by Lynn, because Lynn basically thought, well, they need to get a sense of what else is yet to be done. Okay,
It's
so
not
that's
that space up there.
right.
It's all usable.
Exactly.
pertinent.
And we even addressed the basement as well. So don't get too focused on the layout, because it's impossible to read, for the most part. People will focus essentially on the list. And that's just, again, there for informational purposes. Now, the 3rd page, if you all have that, we decided to use the Channel 13 approach, and we've all seen the Channel 13 thing. If you pledge $100, you get a DVD box set. If you pledge $250, you get a Channel 13 shirt, and God knows what else. If it's not
The
broken,
tote
fix it,
bag.
copy it, okay? So essentially, we have lower levels, for a minimum of $100, they'll get a t-shirt. Thank you, Shani, for the t-shirt. $250 and up to $499, they get a sweatshirt. Thank you, Shani, for the sweatshirt.
Thank you, Lisa, for the
$500 or more, they get a sweatshirt and a t-shirt, or 2 t-shirts and a sweatshirt. Okay? And that's where we're at with that one. So that takes care of the lower levels, because we know that 80 to 90% of this community can't afford more than $500, and that's okay. Okay? Now, the final page is the high level. We decided to shotgun it and put everything on there. Okay, so the final page is for the the higher amounts. We've made some changes, and we started with the 75,000, and it was Leslie's idea that we're kind of doing it backwards. We should start with the 5,000. So we're going to rearrange that so it reads from the 5,000 in the top left-hand column and ends with 75,000 in the top right corner. So it starts low to high. Again, this encompasses the high end. Now, what's nice about this is since we've covered the entire waterfront, we'll essentially be able to mail this out to whoever we feel like. Everyone, it essentially will appeal and target everyone. And it can be used over and over again. We're looking at a run of 10,000, 5,000 to be mailed by Mother's Day, 5,000 to be held over for all the events that we're doing, because we can give this out constantly. The pledge form encompasses both a check payment option and a credit card payment option. So they can do it both ways. Excuse me? Yeah. The indicia on this, it's not the way it's going to be finally, but the renderings, and it'll be folded in half. We discussed it this morning, and we're looking at probably with the indicia in the bottom and the 7 or the 5 photos, instead of on the far right, they'll be across the top of the indicia, and on this side here, they'll change the layout to again be visually appealing and possibly make it jump out a little better. So when they open it up, they'll see Shani's letter. Okay, and that's how that works. So what we need is you guys to either recommend some changes if you think that there's something we're missing, or if someone can make a motion that we can approve this, because the News Times at this point needs us to just do that so we can get this done on time. The budget for this, we discussed it, it's approximately $2,200. It'll be a little higher because we're doing an extra 5,000, but it's not going to be that much higher because, frankly, in printing, the more you print, the less the unit cost is. But I think we're getting a very good value for our money. And that $2,200 includes the 5,000 postage, because we're using the nonprofit permit. So the actual postage cost comes down to 15 cents a piece versus what we projected, which was 24 cents a piece. So we're saving 9 cents a piece on that as well. The only thing I have to say is I think the quality of the paper I think is important here. Mm-hmm. I think we ought to use some sort of a glossy or a matte finish, so it's got some quality to it, even if it might cost a little more. I'm just recommending that.
I think we should
I
make
don't
it-
want the quality to be
Right.
marginal. I want it to be somewhat
Yeah.
thick.
I think it shouldn't look like we printed it
Right.
in my house.
Absolutely, right. Okay.
How's it going to be bound? Is it going to be bound from?
No,
One
just,
sheet.
it'll be basically a 8.5 by 11 by 2, just half, that's all.
But
You know-
4 pages.
No, it's actually going to be, if you were to fold it out, it would actually be a
8.5,
11 by 17.
Yeah, 11 by 17.
piece of paper.
Right, but
And
how
then
it-
folded.
It's one piece of
It's one piece of paper.
printed on
11 by
both sides.
17, and then folded twice.
And folded.
And then, that's it.
Madam Chairman, I'll make a motion to accept this really great piece of material submitted by Mr. Cernick
Well, I had a lot of help. I mean,
for,
frankly, Shane,
and his committee
and Lynn, and we
for
we really worked it over.
purposes, I'll make the motion for purposes of discussion.
Okay.
I would second that.
All right.
Nice job.
All right, is there any discussion?
We're getting there.
Great job,
Yeah.
Bob. I
Excellent.
mean,
Lynn,
yeah. I mean,
Everybody.
Lynn and I put
Shane.
our 2 cents in, but Bob really came up with the design of it, so.
Well, it's just rough because the News Times will take it to its final
Yeah.
level.
may I just throw something out on the table?
Oh, absolutely.
You had a second.
This is just a work in progress.
We have the 75,000.
Mhm.
We received 50,000 from the Rubino family.
Right.
Will they be receiving a lifetime naming honorarium for their 50,000?
Oh, yes.
I was just throwing that out.
Yes.
Yeah, they already
These are only
have, yeah.
available, these are the
That-
available sponsorships.
They might have
here.
received it. I wasn't notified that they received it.
Right.
Well, they received a thank you letter, and they
Yeah.
received, they have a plaque on the donor wall. They
Yeah.
haven't received the sponsorship plaque
Yeah.
because the room hasn't.
Just when you see that, I was wondering if we could have maybe somebody else to come up with another 50.
Hey,
Right on
Oh,
time.
you're early.
I just threw that out.
So is that part of, that's a good question, because
Mhm.
is that part of, if you get a $15,000 donation, is there a set way that we say thank you? Is there a party at the room in the person's honor to open the room for them, or?
Well, if you look at that, anyone that gives 5,000 or more gets 2 tickets to the Centennial Ball,
Okay.
the Centennial Gala. And that would be that, along the lines of your big thank you party
Right.
as well. So it's a celebration of the 100th anniversary, but it's also a thank you for the donors that, gave that level. I mean, that's how we're seeing it.
Yeah, I don't think we need to put it in there, but just as we think about how
yeah,
to.
no, it's good that we brought that up, and Lynn and I know that we need to have a process, because we could get 4,500 of these back with $500 checks in them, and we would then need to have a process for thanking all those people.
It's a nice problem to have.
Because right now, Lynn writes a personal thank you, and then I write a thank you to certain people. And Lynn would be writing nonstop if we get 4,500 back.
Yes, if we could,
Yeah.
everyone here would help, I'm sure.
So,
Yes, we'll have thank you note.
but we haven't put a process in place, but we know we need to.
In lieu of a board meeting.
Bob, do you want these back?
At the end of well, whatever, yeah, just 1 or 2.
Yeah.
To date, Tom, what's happened, but we do, what's on here are the areas that have not yet been sponsored. So we do have some areas that have been sponsored, and all of those people have been, well, they all have a plaque on the donor wall, and they've been invited to the library, they've been given a tour, they've been shown the space that, if it's not in existence yet, that they, where their space will be, where their plaque will be. If we have a rendering of it, they can kind of visualize what it's going to look like. So they've all been, they've all been given that personal treatment
It's just
to
a swine
date.
flu, don't worry.
Yeah, and I'll share a story with you from one of the donors that I know personally.
Okay.
That would make this even more important.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. All right, so is there any other discussion? We have a motion to accept the townwide mailer as presented.
I'll make a motion to end discussion, Madam Chairman.
Okay.
You second.
I second.
All those in favor of ending discussion? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you. All those in favor of accepting and moving forward with the townwide mailer? say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, unanimous. Good job. Bob, do you have anything else?
Yes, I have a few other things. We had made a motion at the Development Committee, and I'll go in no particular order. One thing is, we were looking at business cards. The concept of having some sort of a generic business card that can be used by board members when they are interfacing with the public in either a fundraising capacity, soliciting for funds, and/or just an official capacity, some kind of a way that they could do that. And I'm thinking that just to keep it, the expense reasonable at this point and test the concept, we might want to just make a motion to have the board print 1,000 generic cards with a line, so you can at least write your name in there, because we do have some transitions from year to year to year to year. It would be very expensive to start issuing 500 or 250 cards for 12 members every year or every 2 years, versus just have a generic card, and possibly the chairman would have their own. The chairman would have her own or his own custom printed card, which isn't that much, but at least the board members should have the ability to have a card. So if they're speaking in a capacity, especially now, since we're in this fundraising point, and you never know who you're speaking to, and you want to just feel comfortable by saying, here's my card. Instead of, I'm a member of the board of directors. Well, that's wonderful. I assume you have a card. No, I don't. It's a funny town. But, I think we're missing a step there. Minor, but it should be there. So I'd like to make a motion that we authorize, I think, no more than $50 to have 1,000 or 500 business cards printed generically at this point in time, and possibly 250 cards printed for the chairman of the board, just to be able to get us through a number of different events that are coming up.
Well,
That's what I'd like to see.
I would add to that Lynn should have business cards too.
Oh,
Yes.
I didn't know you
I don't
have
have them. I used to have them, and I know I don't use them. To me, it's a waste of money for me to have a business
Really? You
card.
never
Really?
use
I
them?
don't use them. I
Wow.
don't use them. I had them made up when I was director at Monroe, and you know how many I used out of the box? About 5 in 11 years.
Oh.
Really?
I just don't use them.
Okay.
I mean, I don't think it's a bad idea, but for me personally, I don't know. I don't. I mean, if you would like me to have them, I'll certainly get them made up, but I don't think it's.
But in your role, you're not necessarily soliciting funds for anything.
No, but I use them for, I would, no, I don't, perhaps.
Yes.
Sometimes I do, but not
Right.
the way the board does.
Not traditionally,
I'll second Bob's motion for this.
for discussion.
Okay. Is there any discussion?
I think that it is a good idea, because the day of the pansy sale, when you and I walked up and down Greenwood Avenue and talked to a lot of
It's
the
true.
merchants, and it would have
Probably
been,
4 or 5 people
Yeah.
asked us
instead
for
of
a
grabbing all
card.
theirs, had one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What would be the,
How many are on a flat, by the way?
if we make generic cards,
48.
what's the number? What's the contact information that goes on? Did I miss that?
Uh-oh. Bob, did you say, if we make generic cards, what's the phone number and the email and the contact
Oh,
information?
that should always be the library.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, always.
Because I was Lynn gonna get a bunch of cards.
Well, if they, I mean,
But if you
Leave a message.
write your name on there, you can write your own, email
write
or
your
phone
stuff on
number,
there.
on the back or something like that.
Well, that's actually very interesting. We could design it so you can have a space for your name, a space for your telephone number, and a space for
You could
your
put-
email.
yeah.
So you can personalize it a bit.
so you can sit at home while you're watching Dancing with the Stars.
But how much would it be, so I'm sorry if I missed this, I'm not gonna belabor this, but
Right.
how much would it be to print out if we did different names, say 50 each, that have name and contact information that's unique to the board members, and
Right.
then more for Shaney? Is there any difference in that?
Well, there's a company called Vista Print that I use. They're extremely inexpensive. They're only about $12 for 250 cards. So use that as a benchmark.
And those cards have to be the same run, so you can...
No, separate runs, separate names, separate,
Really?
Yeah, individual cost is $12 for 250. And they have templates that you just pick online. I can email it to all of you, and you can do it that way, but again, we
We
need
should-
board approval for that.
Right. I mean, they should all look the same.
Oh, yeah. Or you can have a local vendor do that for us. I mean, we have
Okay.
Lawler Printing that has been extremely helpful, and I wouldn't be surprised if they would possibly do that. They haven't really helped us too much this year, correct me if I'm wrong. Not that they wouldn't, but they haven't had the...
We haven't asked them to do anything
haven't asked them to do
recently.
anything.
Campaign, no,
Right.
they are
Mhm.
co-sponsoring the newsletter.
Okay, or if that's what they're doing, there's other vendors that I know are printers in Bethel that have not been approached, and it might be time for someone to approach them
Okay.
to get their help. Bethel Printing, do we do anything with Bethel Printing on Greenwood Avenue?
We do a lot with them.
Seniors, in that case, do they sponsor anything for us, or? do
They haven't, but in the first campaign, they did sponsor some of the, I think it was envelopes, if I'm not mistaken. We had, like return envelopes printed
Right.
with the library's address on it, and I think they sponsored that. If they didn't sponsor that, they sponsored something, that we had everything printed through them, and they sponsored one of the items.
Okay, so that's another possibility, if someone can approach them.
Lawler did a lot for it. Remember we changed it?
Wasn't it
Lawler
Yeah.
did the
I mean,
the packets.
that was quite a
Yeah, that was
big piece
$750, I think it was.
that they donated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sometimes
Well,
I'd
let's,
like to-
you know,
We're not talking about that much money. I'd like to almost give them the business back. If we're only talking, $12, $15, $50 for, however many.
That cost or whatever, yeah.
let's work out the details and then, I mean, we have a motion to
To do it.
spend, you said $50.
Well, that may be a little too, maybe if you want to take this to another level, along Tom's idea, think about the executive committee or the key chairman of certain subcommittees that have public interfaces, and maybe work at that level. But then again, I have no problem with all the board members getting a card,
Right.
because you know
Well,
what,
let's-
it's understood that we're all
Yeah.
pitching something at this
Yeah.
point,
Yeah.
this year, you know.
Okay. Is there any reason, do you want to amend? I'm just thinking if you want to amend your motion to say be $100, or do we have $100 we can spend on business cards?
Well, we have, the development committee has
$2,500
$2,500 earmarked, and
bucks.
just spent $2,200, so there's
It's gonna go over that though, we thought, right?
Well, that was for the fundraising activities. Now, that wasn't for the townwide mailing. That was our fundraising for the events that
Well,
that
so in
occurred
that
last
case,
year.
you spent $170 on the pansy sale, and we made $1,200, so.
Yeah, we have the money in there, we're ahead.
Okay.
So it's $12, so
Yeah.
$12 times 12 board members is $144.
So
round
call
up
it 150?
Right, okay.
Okay.
Make a motion, well, you can't make that.
Well,
So we can
I'm
amend your
I'm fine with
motion.
that. I can amend my motion to spend a sum not to exceed $200 for 12 custom printed sets of business cards, not to exceed 250 cards per set for each of the 12 members, to be used during the course of this,
Capital campaign.
capital campaign.
And I
We
seconded
can try
that.
that, it's not that much money,
Okay.
and we are making money from our promotional
Okay.
activities.
Okay.
I'll second the motion as amended again. Can you put the air on? My
I'm
asthma's
sorry.
going to hit me. It's very hot in here.
Can you just restate that? I think I didn't quite get it. That
Okay.
You amended you originally were going to spend $50,
Yes, the motion
Yeah.
has been amended to
then you
increase
amended
it.
it to increase it to $250?
Not to exceed 200.
Oh,
to
200.
exceed. Thank you.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion is unanimously passed. Okay.
We'll have to move this along because Shane just got back from Mexico and she's sneezing badly.
Okay. Another motion that I'd like the board to consider is the placement of donation jars. I've been asked to consider allowing the staff to put donation jars at public programs. For example, the chef that's coming in 2 weeks. We were asked to possibly have the board approve the staff's ability to put donation jars at public programs that they have, free programs that they offer. So we need a motion for discussion on that issue. We approved it in our development committee, but we need now the board to discuss it and approve it possibly.
All right, are you making that motion?
I'd like to make
For
a motion.
discussion purposes?
Motion to allow the library staff to place donation jars for the capital campaign, capital fund donation jars at library program events. That's my motion.
I would second that.
Okay, discussion. I'm not wild about the idea. You know, it's like the tip jar at Subway. I would rather see one of us go to those programs and stand up and introduce the speaker and say we're in the middle of a capital campaign and I have
Right.
pledge forms here.
Well, I think with the speaker...
I have,
Where is it? With
I
the-
have this here,
Yeah.
you know.
No.
You do have that.
ahead.
Okay,
With
go
the
on.
speaker that's coming, who was Julia Child's co-partner, I don't know if I want to see donation jars when he's going to generously donate to the library. I mean, his speaker's fee, and the other girl gave her book fees, and I don't know, I don't know.
You know, put yourself in that venue and just think of it this way. How many have you been, we've all been to venues where someone makes a pitch for a capital fund or whatever, and then it's like, if you want to donate, we've got a donation jar here where you can put your checks right into it. So in other words, I'm looking, you know, a lot of times people write checks impulsively. You know what I mean? You know, you get them at that point. Just as Tom was telling a tale the other day about the Barnum Ball, where they had them in a room and they just got them for $800. And that happens a lot, where you get people to come to an event and Shaney gets up there and says, listen, we are in the middle of a very, very aggressive capital fund campaign, and then if any of you want to contribute, you know, to the fund campaign, we've got a donation jar there where you can just put your check in, and that's all there is to it. So in other words, it's just a vestibule for them to put something in, that's all.
I asked a question about the concept of a jar.
Right.
Yeah.
Bring up the image of the coffee cup at Starbucks.
Right.
But if it were a more...
Gilded box.
A mailbox or a box that had a deposit slot in it or something that was a little bit more formal, that was...
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yes.
Classy, okay.
Thank you.
Do we have that?
There, right?
No, I
That would
have
be-
to tell you, the history of this goes back quite a while. If you remember, Isabel was going to find this wonderful deposit thing, and it just,
Right.
you know, it's been like, okay, a year and a half now, and we still don't have one, but
What about handing out your flyers?
I understand the jar concept,
Yeah.
you get, you know, nickels
I
and
mean,
dimes.
you know,
and
isn't
things.
Sounds
it a
gross.
little off-putting when you buy your $4 Starbucks
the hat
and there's a
kind of thing.
cup there asking you for a tip?
We're not asking for tips.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's that.
Well,
Okay, a nicer
I like Tom's
thing.
We have
idea.
no shame, we can do it.
What if we, is it
This was a
possible?
request that came from
to
the
make a
staff. They
lucite
felt that, you know,
box?
perhaps we could.
Tom has a good idea, and I actually have the box.
Yeah.
I have a box that's about 12 by 12, and it's wrapped in gold paper, really rich gold wrapping
Okay.
paper. And we have it.
Okay.
And it's got a slot on top,
All right,
and people can literally just put checks in there.
okay.
And whether you use it or not is up to you guys. I mean, but the staff, see what I'm fixating on the fact that the staff
Staff wants to do it.
requested
Okay.
it. That's my point. And as soon as I heard the word staff, I said, you know what? If the staff wants to participate in the donation or in the capital fund in their own way,
Programs.
who am I or who are we
Okay.
to inhibit that particular process?
Well, let me ask the director, how do you think this will reflect on the speaker?
That's a very good question, and I don't.
How will this reflect
How,
on
on
The speaker,
speaker.
on the guest.
On the guest, on the speaker.
I think we need to be very discriminating.
That's right.
Whether one of
Right.
the jars or the hat or the box.
Yes.
Whatever we do.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
I think
It
it
sounds-
needs to be kind of discreet.
Yeah, it
Oh, yeah.
sounds tacky right
You know,
now.
you might-
Sorry.
No, you wouldn't do it during the course of the, you wouldn't take
If
away
I
the
were the
focus.
speaker and
Yeah.
I would feel-
I wouldn't advocate making an announcement after
No.
programs
No.
that we have a jar or whatever box that you, if you feel like you want to donate. It would be more like it would be set, if the programs we hold in the lobby, it would be set on the farm table where we have our displays, and it would just be there labeled, nothing
Right.
said about it. And if people see it and wish to put something in it, I mean, that's all. To me, I don't want to be tacky about it.
Maybe have these folded up nearby
Yeah, or something.
or right next to it.
I mean, initially, the discussion goes back, like I say, a while, and initially it was to have it permanently in the library, not just bring it out for programs or anything, but just to have it all the time where people could make a donation. And when they came into the library, if they saw it there, it would be.
I think to have it out all the time.
I think so
It's
too.
a very
Yes.
good idea. 'Cause if
I'd
someone
rather do
goes
it
into
that way
the
to tell you the truth.
library
Yeah, all the time.
And they feel, oh my God, they, it was so easy, they helped me out so much. I think I'll, put
some money.
All the
a
time,
check in
right.
there,
Okay.
or,
I agree.
The
Yeah.
check.
Yeah.
The check.
Right.
You have to be
Deposit.
careful of security concerns.
Right.
Yeah.
that's-
Yeah, it's got to be emptied every night before.
It's, yes, and the
I feel like the
location
poor
is
box in the
important.
church, they rob
You know,
them.
There were a lot of issues surrounding it, which is why it never really happened, I guess. The
Yeah.
security is primary. Where do you put it? One more thing on the circulation desk, and you won't be able to check your books out because there'll be no counter space for you to put them down on. But it has to be somewhere where the staff can keep an eye on it and it doesn't walk out the door.
It wouldn't, I mean, you would probably say no cash, just checks only. You need to say that.
Somebody might want to have
Yeah,
a slip of money
right.
in or
And you know what,
I
Bob?
don't want to discourage.
But there's a little underground movement that every time someone gets a video, they add $1. They've been doing it to keep the
Really?
change.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, see, that supports the reason to have the donation jar, because they're seeing that happen, so they want to
Significant.
capture that. Well, Shandy's saying that there's some sort of movement where they're adding more, when they rent the video, or whatever.
Well, when they check out a video, there are a group of people who are giving $1 to the
Right.
capital campaign.
Oh,
Right.
towards the keep the change thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's where the money goes now, but
Right.
they might put it in the tip jar if it were out there.
But some people
Well, I think
are.
if it's properly
Well, yeah,
designed
there's no objections, we
and
can work on
utilized.
that.
They could.
Get it
Find a
done.
place to put it. And
Okay.
be, I don't know.
I think doing it all the time is a good idea.
Okay. Can I have a motion to end discussion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor of creating a staff donation receptacle at public event, at public programs rather,
I think it should be there all the time.
all the time? Okay, well, that wasn't the motion.
Yes, we'll
Bob,
change.
could you amend your motion? Was it
Okay.
Bob who made that motion?
Motion made
Yes.
to allow the library staff to display a permanent capital fund donation
Receptacle.
receptacle to be displayed publicly at all times. I don't know.
Okay.
Okay. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, the motion is unanimously carried. Scott- Scholarship Committee. I'm really going to time you. You really have only the 2 minutes of the 2-minute
Jeez.
drill.
The Scholarship Committee met, Mrs. Go, Mrs. Stasny, and myself. Mrs. Bergspeck asked to be excused. Lynn was on vacation, I believe. Correct, Lynn? You were on vacation when we met.
I can't remember.
And
Maybe the first time.
we had our meeting, and in the director's report, everything that is reflected on the Scholarship Committee was left with Barbara under my direction to speak to Lynn to complete that, contact the newspapers, the radio stations, everybody else. We have addressed all of the schools, contacted all the schools. We have received 3 applications. I believe it's 3, Lynn, you have them.
I have 3.
And the high school council did not follow the directive and delivered these scholarships to town hall.